What do you think of the idea that storytellers have the power to change the world?
I think it's true. Um, I think culture is shaped by media. When we tell stories to each other, it informs the kind of people that we're going to be.
Yeah.
So absolutely, storytelling shapes the world. Artists shape the
Yes.
world. Creators shape the world.
Welcome to the Indomitable Podcast. I'm your host, ciruolo, and today we have another great episode that will leave you inspired. We're going to do things a little bit differently today. If you're a fan, you'll know that I always say that the number one reason that I survived and thrived out of foster care was that I was able to become the person I am today from my love of reading. I was lucky enough to have a well-stocked library to escape to and a library full of library adults who saw me. As a library kid who grew up to be a library grown-up, y'all know I spend all of my free time volunteering in my children's elementary school library trying to give that love back, looking out for kids like I was. So today, for my library kids and for my inner child, we're going to interview local author Ellen T. Crenshaw. Ellen is an author and an illustrator who is giving new life to some of our all-time favorite series in the form of graphic novels, including the Babysitters Club. I cannot wait to ask her the questions our elementary school library kid fans have. So hello, Ellen. I am so grateful to have you here.
Hi, Di. Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself so that everybody can get caught up, that would be awesome.
Sure. I'm a cartoonist and illustrator. I live in Beverly.
Woo!
And yeah, only recently I was in California before now, so I've lived around both coasts.
Love it.
I am the co-creator of Kiss Number 8 with Colleen A.F. Venable, which is for older kids, teens and above. And I am an adapter for the Babysitters Club series. Latest one that came out was Christy and the Walking Disaster. Previously, I did Stacy's Mistake. And upcoming, I have Jessie Ramsey Pet Sitter.
I love it. I love it so much. So I didn't tell you this before we jumped on, but I tried to go back to our library this morning to pick up any of the copies of the books that I had that you signed for me at the author event. And all of the other ones are checked out, except for this awesome one. Yeah.
Yes, I bought that was my first fully written and illustrated all by me.
That's
a
awesome.
graphic novel.
Yeah.
And it is a departure from the others because the others are fiction and this is about the Civil War.
Yes, no, I absolutely thought it was awesome. I mean, I am another one of those kids who absolutely loves history. So, I mean, I absolutely loved it. I love history. But you should know all of your other books that we have at the library are checked out, and I was not able to take them home as props. That's actually even better, right? To say that all your books are checked out. Sorry, all the little kids are
wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm just excited that you have them. I love going to look in the library and seeing my books there. It's 1,000 times more exciting than looking at them in a bookstore.
Right?
I love seeing them in the library.
Okay, so I have to jump into it right away because we got so much response from the little kids. I put a little bucket out that said, questions for author Ellen T. Crenshaw, and I put out like little
I'm so excited.
I put out little Post-it notes for them to write on, and so there's so many questions. Okay, I'm gonna jump right into the questions from my library kids. Here we go. What were your favorite series as a library kid yourself?
I read the original Babysitters Club series.
Yes, me too.
I actually had hand-me-downs from my older sister. And so I read all of the copies that she had. I read the Boxcar Children.
Yeah.
But these are also my sister's. She had a Christopher Pike, I want to say Fear Street series. Again, I think those were a little bit older because a friend of mine had the Goosebumps.
Goosebumps and went to Fear. Yep. I remember.
Right.
Yep. Right.
And I'm trying to think of other series that I had. I had some Nancy Drew
I was going to
books that
say,
I
if you did
loved to
Boxcar Children,
read.
I'm sure you did Nancy Drew, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. And I want to say I had a couple of Hardy Boys,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
I was really more of a Boxcar Children kid and Nancy Drew.
Yeah.
But Babysitter's Club was huge in my house.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I think they re-released it on Netflix as well. I think they're like redoing that series again, right?
They have a new series, yeah, and it's really good. I want to say that it has 3 seasons. I haven't seen all of it, but the
Really?
episodes that I've seen are just top notch. They're really, really good, especially since the
I love
series in
that.
the
I love
90s
that for us.
has like 30-year-olds playing 13-year-olds. And the new series has actual teenagers.
I recall the phenomenon you're describing. What experiences led you to the work you do today?
What experiences? One thing in particular was that my
Okay.
best friend in elementary school used to like drawing too. And we would come up with stories together and draw together. So that was probably a really formative experience for becoming a storyteller and making comics growing up,
Yeah.
was having a pal to do it with when I was a kid.
Right.
I took, my mom got me some art classes with a friend of hers that taught watercolor painting when I was 7. So that was, a major
Wow.
experience, just learning a new techniques, new crafts. And I ended up going to art school in high school with that childhood best friend. She's an art teacher in New York City now, and we're still
Wow.
friends today. But
That's
I feel like
amazing.
yeah, I feel like having that best art friend was huge.
Awesome. I love that. I know. So, how do you feel about adding your magic to help renew the love in beloved children's book series such as the Babysitters Club?
It's such a privilege. It was such a privilege to be asked to contribute to the Babysitters Club series because it had already been going on for a little bit by the time I was considered. I had actually been asked to contribute to other properties that I won't say what they are, but I didn't have a personal connection with those. And so being asked to do Babysitters Club, I was like, I know these characters, and I have, not only do I have a connection with the series, but it's very personal because it makes me connected with my sister as well. And my
Yeah.
niece, my oldest niece, also read the earlier graphic novels, and she really, really
Yeah.
loved them. So it not only felt, exciting on a professional level, but it felt very exciting on a personal level to be able to contribute to these books and
Yeah.
kind of be part of like this legacy. So
Yes.
that
Absolutely.
it really felt very incredible. And I don't know. I'm very grateful to have been chosen to participate in it, and the other adapters are also really wonderful. I haven't met everybody in person, but we have like a little Discord together, and
That's
it
awesome.
yeah, it's like being part of a Babysitters Club.
That's so cool. The answer is even cooler than I thought it was going to be. That's exciting. I love when that happens. I love when that happens. Okay, let me see here. I'm trying to keep everything in the same vein here. So, was it your dream to work with Scholastic? And if yes, was it because of the book fair?
Yes and yes. um
That's what I thought you were going to say.
after I did my first Babysitters Club adaptation, I got an email from my editor at Scholastic, and she was showing me some of the materials for the Scholastic Book Fair that was coming up that had my art on it. And it's like
Right.
a big standee and posters and things that have
I
my
saw.
work on
Yeah.
it. It really bowled me over to see that I'm part of the Scholastic Book Fair.
Right. Right. Absolutely. We just had our book fair a couple of weeks ago, and because I run that library, I saw the artwork and I was just sitting there, I was pointing to it. I'm like, this is who we're talking to. Make sure you put questions in the bin. It was just, I mean, it was absolutely perfect timing, and it absolutely worked out. And I was so delighted for you and delighted for them that that was part of the materials that we got to do the book fair. So I was completely
Thank
thrilled.
you.
That's
It's
awesome.
so exciting.
My kids don't think what I do is cool yet because I don't write children's books. Every time I start being like, okay, I'm going to write another book, like my son will give me that face like, a kid's book, mama. And I'm like,
oh,
and he'll just be like, I'm like, okay, great, fine. So I'm happy for
he'll
you. I'm happy
appreciate
you had
it later.
someday. It's fine. I mean, the coolest thing that ever happened in their mind was the fact that I went to school with the person who drives the ice cream truck through our neighborhood. So I was able to text him to come back around one time. And I lived off that for probably at least that entire summer. So it's fine. I'm fine.
That is too cool. That's way too cool.
Biggest thing that I was ever able to do. Okay, this one is, how did your art style evolve over time?
Oh, so that's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was first drawing, you just kind of draw whatever comes out, right?
Right.
And then as I was learning techniques, I'm trying to draw what's in front of me, doing lots of still lifes, learning how to, draw a flower or something like that by looking at the
Right.
world around me. So you're basically trying to mimic what's in front of you. And then style just kind of,
Mm-hmm.
it does evolve naturally, but at the same time, you get inspired by other artists around you. And in my case, I would see, for instance, other cartoonists and see something like, oh, I really like how they drew this particular, like a hand or something.
Mm-hmm.
This one artist in particular, I really liked how she drew ears. And so you just kind of pick things up as you go, and
Yeah.
style is constantly morphing and changing, which is really great about being any type of creative person, is that you never stay in one lane. You're constantly learning, you're constantly evolving.
Right.
But that's essentially how my style of drawing evolved, was just drawing what's in front of me and being inspired by other artists. And that could
And
come
how they did it.
from, yeah, that could come from, I mean, I loved newspaper comics growing up. I watched a lot
Of
of
course.
cartoons.
Of course.
Um,
There
oh
were
yeah.
better cartoons in our day. Yes, yes, I recall.
I don't know, I'm obsessed with Bluey,
Oh my god.
which is,
Same. No, same. We are big Bluey fans. You are speaking my language. Very obsessed with Bluey. I was not sure that it was actually for children. I
oh
make
heck
so
yeah.
many friends with my Bluey t-shirt. Yes. Agree.
Gravity
Agree.
Falls was a recent comic, as
Yeah.
a recent cartoon as well. There are good cartoons today as well. They're not all in one place anymore. It's not,
Right.
you watch
Right.
TV, network TV, it's all on different streaming services and such, so it's a
Yes.
little more segmented.
Yes. Used to be Saturday morning cartoons, and nowadays you
Right.
gotta just keep up with all your streaming services. I mean, it is what it is. Life changes. It's awesome. All right. What do you think of the idea that storytellers have the power to change the world?
I think it's true. I think culture is shaped by media. When we tell stories to each other, it informs the kind of people that we're going to be. There's a really great, I haven't read the whole thing yet, but there's a great article that just came out from a man who said that if he read Babysitter's Club when he was a kid, he would need therapy less now because of the um kind of uh, emotional
Yeah.
uh lessons that you learn through these
Yeah.
books, so that you can learn to how to have disagreements with your friends and how to overcome that,
Absolutely.
and
Yes.
how to start a club, how
Hmm.
to treat people with respect.
Yes.
And even if the story doesn't have a particular lesson in mind, they're still going to shape the way that we see the world. So
Yeah.
absolutely, storytelling shapes the world, artists shape the world, creators shape the world.
Right. Right. I think that's an excellent point, because the more practice you get seeing something in a safe way, the more
Yeah.
you can sort of think about how you would do it. The more you have opportunities to see yourself in the art of the world, the more you can sort of have that be a level setting experience, right? Like
Mhm.
you can just, you're right there, and whatever, Stacy's going through or Claudia's going through or any interpersonal issues that they're having or challenges, you're sort of able to think about yourself in that space and kind of what you would do and put your friends in those positions. And I think that that is absolutely an amazing way for children to understand interpersonal relationships, especially friendships, and sort of their connection to big people as well, right?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
I talk to children all day. It's kind of it's its own experience is what it is. They're very, very straightforward, very creative, and very just, no, I have real questions. Are you going to answer me? Or are you going to be a grown up? So
I'm very
love
impressed
that.
with these questions. They're
Well,
very sophisticated.
right there, it's a great school. Beverly is a great city to grow up in. All right, let's see here. What is the best advice you have ever received?
My word. That's a great question. The best advice I ever received. Well, I don't know if this is the best advice I ever received, but it was advice that really changed the way that I work. And that is when I was in college, I was taking a character design class, and my instructor said I was drawing characters in certain poses, and I was doing characters with this type of gesture with their hands.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's a very Saturday morning cartoon type of
Yes.
hand gesture. And the instructor said to me, you can convey a lot of character through the hands. So
Right.
you can do things with the hands to convey
Mm-hmm.
emotions. And
Right.
that really clicked with me in that moment, that I opened the entire world to me, and it entirely changed the way that I work and the way that I draw. So you may note that in these books, there's always kind of a hand peeking in somewhere to
Right.
either make the page more dynamic, or a lot of my characters use their hands to talk the way that I'm doing now with my coffee mug.
Right.
And
Right. Like we all do.
yeah, right. To convey like surprise or excitement or like confusion or thoughtfulness, or,
Right.
like feeling,
Yeah.
small and inside yourself or something.
Right.
And yeah, it really changed entirely the way that I do visual storytelling. So that may not have
Right.
been the best advice that I ever got my whole life, but it is something that was a major turning point in my artistic upbringing.
That's awesome. Follow-up question, if you have one, if you have an answer to this. What is some feedback that you got that maybe is common for people that you think kids should ignore? I have a lot.
When
I
I
have a lot of things I should have ignored over the years, and I sort of give age-appropriate versions of that, so I wanted to give you that opportunity as well.
When I was in high school, I had an art teacher, for one, say, "Don't fill your sketchbook up with cartoons," and obviously that I ignored that entirely.
Right. Right.
I honestly feel like a lot of art teachers will tell students not to draw anime. I'll say
Right.
American art teachers will tell
Right.
students not to draw anime. I think you can ignore that as well. It's simply a style. If you want to pursue art and create characters, you don't want to ever
Right.
draw all your characters only one particular way. You want to show, diverse shapes and sizes and colors and all sorts of things.
Right.
But there's no reason why you can't adhere to a particular style that you enjoy and that you connect
Right.
with. So draw
Right.
anime.
Right. You're not anime. Are you kidding me? I love anime. I love the style. I love the exaggerated, how we use not just eyebrows or hands, but also hair to
Right.
convey how we're feeling. Like, of
Yeah.
course you should. Of
Yeah,
course you should. If that's
absolutely.
your medium for expressing yourself and sort of understanding the world, I agree. That's a great point. Ignore those people. Ignore the haters.
Draw
All right.
cartoons and anime if you want to,
Draw
if it makes
cartoons
you
and anime,
happy.
of course you should. I mean, that reminds me of Dave Pilkey's story as well. He was ADHD, and he talks about it at the end of all of his books, all of like the Dog Man books and all of those. His teacher always said that he needed to stop drawing pictures and that he never amount to anything. And it says the very last line, I have it printed up in the library, and it says, fortunately, he didn't listen. That's how I always try to remind the kids that people aren't always going to understand the thing that you're
Mhm.
doing. It's not for them, it's for you, and you're going to connect the you-ness to other people, even if it isn't right now. So I
Yeah,
completely agree.
absolutely.
That's so fun. So fun. Agree.
Spite is an excellent motivator if you want to.
was going to say that, but like, honestly, I say it in my book too, where I was just like, hey, my rage to prove people wrong kind of did become a motivator in my life. I'll be honest with you. Don't hold the anger, but definitely if it's driving you forward, go for it. Go for it. What is your favorite ice cream flavor?
I really love pistachio and coffee ice creams.
I love coffee ice cream as well. Great point. Mm-hmm. Good job. Love that one. Okay, so why do you think so many amazing children's book authors, yourself, Jeff Kinney, Mo Willems, etc., live in Massachusetts? Right?
That's a great question. I guess I can say why I moved back to Massachusetts, because I went to college here and left and lived in California for a while and came back. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of it had to do with being closer to friends and family and community. I do have plenty of friends who are either authors or illustrators or creators in some way in Massachusetts.
Right.
But Massachusetts, and the thing that draws me here is it's very visually stimulating and intellectually stimulating. There's a lot of history here. There's a lot of really interesting architecture.
Yeah.
Seasons, the changing of the seasons is very inspiring. I can say I grew up in Florida even.
Right.
So growing up in Florida, living in California, you don't get these markers of the passage of time in the same way that you do here.
Right. Yeah.
It is an inspiring place to live.
Yeah, I love the colors. I lived in Atlanta for like 10 years and it was a lot redder than it is here. And sure. Of course, but like I mean, we just got off a plane a couple of days ago and I just like took a big deep breath and it was all salt water and I was like, there we go. Now we're back. We're good. We're breathing again. All right, let me see here. I know, but like I was very surprised to find out that all of those folks also live in Massachusetts. I was like, of course. That makes sense. All right. What is your favorite color?
Ooh, it changes all the time. I would say right now it's probably orange. I'm in an orange room right now, kind of.
Right. But if you can't see behind her, the room is orange.
I mean, really, if I'm talking my favorite orange, it's like, safety cone, bright orange.
That's awesome. What a great pick. What book could you read over and over again?
Ooh, gosh, what book could I read over and over and over again? This One Summer by Mariko and Jillian Tamaki, I've read a billion times. There's a book called, it's a compilation of a bunch of shorter stories called Get a Life by Dupuy and Berberian. That's a book that I've read 8,000 times. These are both of those are graphic novels. Right. So it takes less time to read them over and over and over again.
Wow. Still.
When I was a kid, I read a book called Totally Disgusting 8,000 times. As well as like the Wayside Schools Falling Down series and things like that.
Right. Great picks. I think the one I've probably read the most is Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. I've probably read that. Just my copy of it is in my attic. Just like absolutely, the cover is gone. It's just exactly. I just love
nice comfort read.
Yeah, I love those. Okay, what book do you hope will become a movie?
Ooh. Oh my gosh. Sometimes I like books to stay books. I think that the Winter Night series, there's the Bear and the Nightingale. I forget what the other two in the series are called, but it's called the Winter Night series by Catherine Arden. I think those would make really cool movies. They're historical fiction with a little bit of kind of magic thrown in. Right.
Historical fiction with magic is basically my whole life. Like, I mean, that's my when I'm unplugging my brain, I need a little bit of stimulation, but like not so much that magic can't be happening at the same time. So I get why.
Yeah, absolutely.
I get why. Good point. When they made A Discovery of Witches into like a BBC almost series, I was like blown away. I was just like, this is it. I'm so excited.
That's great. I know that The Witch Boy is supposed to be either a film or a series. I don't know what's going on with that, but that would probably be very cool too.
Good point. Good choices. These are good choices. How long does it take to create a graphic novel?
Ooh, well, it depends on how many pages there are,
Right, of course, valid.
but it usually takes me about a year to do 100 pages.
Wow.
At least in a perfect world, it would take me about that amount of time because I could take my time with it.
Right.
For most of the books that I've worked on, I don't have that luxury of
Right?
time.
Right. Yeah.
So, uh,
Yeah.
the Babysitters Club books take me about a year to do. And the process that I'm doing with the Babysitters Club is I'm starting with reading the original text,
Mm-hmm.
adapting it into thumbnails, so like
Yep.
little sloppy drawings,
Yep.
and bringing that through pencils and then to the inks, which is just the black outlines.
Mm-hmm.
That gets passed on to a colorist, and my editor will, all throughout the process go through and revise things and make sure that all the continuity is correct and I've spelled everything right and all that good stuff.
Right.
So I would say that by the time so I have the book for about a year. I pass it off
Mm-hmm.
to the colorist, and then it's another year before it gets published. So before it's in
Wow.
your hand.
Right. Right.
So it
Wow.
takes time.
Well, thank you for explaining that, because I know we've got kids that are waiting for like the next Dogman, the next Wings of Fire graphic novel. I can think of
Oh
like a
yeah.
ton of them that everybody. When I got that, I wasn't sure who it was for. I was like, oh, this is. I bet I know why this is a question, because I regularly get kids that'll come in and be like, Miss Di, when's this going to be happening? Or the littler ones call me Mrs. Books. So Mrs. Books, when's this one? And I'm just like, I keep track now of when everybody's books are coming out, just
Well,
so I know.
just imagine that when you look at a page of comics, let's say there's 5 to 6 panels on there. So
Right.
that's 5 to 6 full drawings, every single page. And if each of these books is 150 pages,
Right.
then
Right.
that's a lot of drawings, and it takes
That's a
time.
lot of art. That's a lot.
And not
Yeah.
only that, I mean, when you figure there's the thumbnails, which are the sloppy drawings, then there's
Mm-hmm.
pencils, which are tighter, then there's the inks. So that means that I'm drawing every book about 3 times.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
single page gets drawn many, many times before
Yes.
it's finalized and in your hands to read. So read the book more than once for me.
Yeah. I mean, as somebody who writes only adult books, not adult books, but like now only grown-up people books, I mean, I always say I think the misconception is that children's books are easier, and I am exactly of the opposite
Right.
opinion. I'm just like, no, I write it, I go through it a bunch of times, I put stuffing in, and then somebody else edits it, and it comes back to me with like my thoughts more coherently. I'm not doing like 12 versions of this. I'm doing like one version, and we're all working in the same document. Nobody's coming. That's not how it works for bigger people books. That's incredible. So no, yes, I do know a lot of these kids are reading these books over and over and over again anyway, if that helps.
They take so
They're
long
doing it
to
the way
make,
you
so I
want.
appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And because
I mean, at
they
least
take
my
so
kids.
quickly to read sometimes.
No, I mean, my kids have copies of books like in their beds that they're reading over and over and over again. So I know that kids are doing it that way anyway. All right,
That's
let's see what else we've got
fantastic.
here.
And I don't think a grown-up prose books are necessarily easier or harder.
I mean,
Absolutely not. But certainly children's books are hard.
yeah,
You have to you have to get it exactly right in so few words.
right, right,
That can, I mean,
right.
it,
And then the
the
expressions have to be understood no matter what, right? Like you have to
mhm
be able to understand what's happening. And
mhm
like there's still the littler kids that are going from, learning words to learning, how to emote all through graphic novels. And I think that that's like really, really a fun spot to be in. So you have to almost over explain through the art just in case they don't have, the words yet. And I think that that seems harder to me.
comics being a visual medium versus prose,
Right.
it really is a different medium, and you read it in a different
Yeah.
way. And that
Right.
marriage of images and words means
Right.
that there's a lot of interplay between that. I mean, you can have the words say something that isn't necessarily being depicted. So you might have an
Right.
unreliable narrator or something.
Yes.
Or, like you were saying, you might want to show something rather than tell. So rather
Mm-hmm.
than say, this character is feeling sad or something, you need to
Right.
show that they're feeling sad. And anyway, it is a different medium and a different interplay between the reader and what's on the page. There's
Right.
there's a different kind of interactivity that's happening, which
Right.
is really fun to explore and play with.
Right. Wow. It would be something enormous to be conscious of if I were doing what you were doing. See, I think I just write for myself, but you're writing for, even if you think about how even that gentleman who was saying if he'd had the Babysitters Club, he would have had a lot less therapy in his life. I just think about the responsibility of that, right? For an artist, just that awareness, thinking about how you will recreate these stories, thinking about how you will express them in art, and thinking about how children will receive them. I think that's a tremendous responsibility, and I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
Good job. Good job. You're doing great. Good job. All right, let me see here. Are you currently on a deadline?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Yes. How are you dealing with that stress?
Never well.
Never well.
I did just very recently pass a major deadline. So
Wow.
that was turning in the inks for Jessie Ramsey Pet Sitter. After that, I have to do the cover and do revisions
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. It's a little bit looser. But
Right.
I usually need deadlines to motivate myself to move forward anyway, because that's
Right.
what I need.
For me, it would feel like it was just lurking there, like this, nebulous thing sitting there, just like a little gremlin sitting on my brain, reminding me that the days are getting shorter.
It is for me
That's
too.
incredible. I'd be eating more ice cream. Yeah. Oh, perfect. So just exactly what I thought.
It is
Just
absolutely a
exactly
gremlin
that.
sitting on my shoulder.
Right? Any other awesome thing that you have coming up that you want to share?
Well, I do have a fourth Babysitters Club book that I'll be doing, but that won't be coming out for a little bit. I'm taking a little bit of a break between these books, but it has been announced though, so I'm allowed to say that
Okay.
I'll be working on, and that will
Mm-hmm.
be Claudia and the Sad Goodbye, which will be my next
Okay.
Babysitters Club book. And in the meantime, I'll hopefully be working on some personal projects and working on exploring new techniques and trying
Mm-hmm.
to grow creatively and personally as an
Yeah.
artist. I'd love to
Right.
paint some trees,
Right? I mean, it's a beautiful landscape. You might as well get out there and paint it.
right?
Yes. Yes, I do. I love it. I say all the time that like one of the things that I'm always doing is I'm like at the beach in the winter, standing in the ocean in like my purple wellies, just like, trying to I don't go to the beach in the summer for the most part. I'm usually just at the beach in the winter when the shells are all frozen and I'm just walking around, nobody else there, just me sitting there. So do it.
We go to the
It's good
beach
for
with my
you.
dog, so we just went. I mean, I will intend on going there in the winter and just went on Sunday to Singing
Yep.
Beach with my dog, and it
Love
was
singing
utterly
beach.
gorgeous.
Of course. Yep. Gorgeous. Love that. All right, that's the local news. Anyway, I could continue talking to you about this literally all day, but I know you have deadlines and things to do and gremlins to deal with. So, how do we support you? How do people follow you?
Well, I'm on Instagram, etc illustration,
Mm-hmm.
etc being both etc, but also my initials.
Right.
And that's really my major social media presence. My website is ellencrenshaw.com,
Awesome.
and you can support me by going to the library and requesting my books. You
Yes.
can buy my books if you want to, but any way in which you want to read the books, whether buying, library, borrowing them from a friend, it's all wonderful to me. So, kiss
And if
number
you're at
8.
my
Well,
library, we do have Ellen's books. So
yeah,
I would love to help you check them out. Okay, so Ellen has sent me those links and they will be below in the show notes if you'd like to buy any of her books or connect with her or follow her amazing work. I'm so excited to have you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun.
Yes.
And thank you
So
for the
y'all,
wonderful questions. They were
right.
so good. They were
Thank you
so
to all of my
good.
wonderful library kids for their amazing questions today. Y'all, thank you for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the Indomitable Podcast for more incredible stories of humaning. And remember, for library adults, my book Indomitable, A Foster Care Story is available wherever you get your books. And as I said, that is for library grown-ups only, please. And finally, as ever, I am so happy to have you here in community with me. And remember, together we are truly indomitable. Have such a great week and take care, everybody.